All right, guys, welcome back to another interview on MMA.I. Today, I'm joined by Jordan Little. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show. It's having an absolute pleasure. I was watching you over the Four Nations, and I was very keen. I'm watching your performances. I was very impressed, and I was very keen to get you on the show. So thank you very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, I appreciate that, man. It's nice to know people are watching.
I mean, I think the Four Nations was such a fantastic, tournament / concept. I definitely feel like we should have a little bit more of it in the UK, and obviously the first one, I'd definitely like to see more of it. So that hopefully we do see more of that in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good show, and I want to do it again. So hopefully they get it back on next year.
And then obviously, while we're on the topic of first and foremost, how are you feeling off the back of the performances?
I'm feeling good. I didn't feel like I had the best performance for myself. I said that in a few interviews, like during the fights. Like even though I won 2 of my fights, I didn't feel like I went out at my peak condition. But I also had a fight the week before. But at the same time, I got the job done on the first 2 days, and on the third day, I went against the guy that was probably everyone's favorite to win, and I refused to he tried to finish me in the first, that wasn't happening, and on the third round, I took over, so I feel good.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, you fought 3 times in a span of 3 days. Obviously, was that the first time you've experienced that in your amateur career? And obviously, how did the body feel after that?
Yeah, so that was my first time. So I've competed on IMAF before, but I only fought on 1 day because I broke my hand on the first day. So this was my first time actually getting that consecutive fight in. I had a few injuries because of it, but other than that, like I felt good. Like I worked through them. I went and had ice baths while I was there. I had massages. I did what I could to keep my body like ready. I was watching my weight, hydration, but it was worth doing it.
Yeah, exactly, and obviously it paid off because you brought back the silver medal. What a silver medalist. So how'd that feel? Bringing back that that accomplishment back to your home country, your home gym.
That felt amazing. I went there for the experience more than anything. I knew that I was going to be against top level guys. I thought this is the best way to test myself. And when I got through to that final, for me, getting the silver was amazing. Obviously, I wanted the gold, but I wasn't fussed about the fact that I lost it because I learned so much in the cage on the day.
Exactly, and as you talked about, the experience is the most important thing that you learn that night. So that's going to take you a long way in your future.
Oh, 100%. You want to have as many fights as possible in the amateur career to progress yourself ready for pro, so that you're as well developed in every area as you can be. You don't want to get chucked in the deep end when you go pro.
Exactly, and we talked about it just quickly. Then the Four Nations, a fantastic concept, fantastic event. Presumably they'll do it again, and I presume that you would like to compete again because you would probably want to one up yourself and go for that gold next time.
Oh, 100%. If they do it again, I hope I get selected. I don't see why I wouldn't. I got the silver and I'm pushing myself all the time and I'm staying active. I'd like to go back. Maybe I'll see the same guy again. Maybe it'll be someone else. We don't know. But either way, I want that gold.
Yeah, and I think this is a good start, for the push towards MMA becoming, a good Olympic sport or even a Commonwealth sport. Is that something that you'd like to maybe, see happen in the future?
That would be amazing. Yeah, it would grow the sport, especially in the UK, and it would bring new people to watch it. I think it would definitely encourage more people to get involved and more people to know what it's about, and I think that'd be good.
Exactly, and I think it's a very good start. I think the Four Nations was good because obviously every nation's competing against itself, so it had that competitiveness as well.
Yeah. I see these guys, I had to fight one of the Team England guys, so I had to fight one of my own team. Some people were a bit uncomfortable with that, I think, but in my head, I was kind of like, I'd fight these guys on the regional shows anyway, so it's no different. I could get matched up with him, and then I was fighting guys that I probably wouldn't get the chance to fight because they're too far away. So it was nice to have that balance and be able to meet new people and see what people are doing in different gyms that are in different areas. Like the Irish team brought out some strong people. Scotland brought out a stronger team than I was expecting. They were good. So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Scotland won it in your weight class. Obviously, you got to the final. Bittersweet. What's that before? What do you think about obviously the performance in the gold medalist final?
You know, I was happy with my performance in the final. I felt like I fought better on the third day than I did in the second. Um, I went out there looking for a fight and like to test myself in every area. That's exactly what happened. You know, he was a strong grappler. That was his game plan. He was just going to grapple and smother me. You know, he tried to finish me in the first round, but I just refused. There was no way I was tapping out in the final. It was a case of I'm either going to go to sleep or I'm going to keep going. And you know that paid off. And the second round, again on the stand up, he didn't want to know. My stand up, I think, was too sharp for him. He knew that. He started trying to take me down more. And then on the third round, I was able to reverse him and keep him on the floor. So yeah, you know, it was a good fight. We had a bit of everything in every area, so it was a good test.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic fight, and obviously, you know, the decision didn't go your way, but you know, it's the, as we talked about earlier, the experience and obviously being in the cage is the most valuable thing. You're going to take that onto your next fight, and August 13th, you're booked already. You said you like to stay active, and you're showing
Yeah, I
it.
like to stay active, definitely. As soon as I got back home, you know, like that was planning that next fight. What can I get on? That's the only one that's booked, but there'll be a couple more. So keep active.
I love it. I love that mentality, as I talked about before. But you know, it shows that, you know, a mentality of a winner, staying busy, just learning. I feel it's a big learning process when you're in the amateur scene.
Oh, definitely. It's all, you know, like every fight you're learning something new. Every fight you're meeting new people, testing yourself in different ways, and it's also just about enjoying it. Like you need to go out there. When you go pro, I think, you know, that intensity is going to be a bit more. You still got to enjoy it, but at the amateur level, it's just go out there, have fun, get the experience, see what it's all about, and get yourself ready. Know what you're going to get into, and know that it's going to be hard, and it's going to get harder with every fight. You know, there's no point in sticking at the bottom and fighting bottom people. You want to push yourself.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, it's saying August 13th in Cage Warriors Academy. That will be in Wales, if I'm correct. I'm not too sure. They haven't.
Yeah. So I'll be fighting on the Cage Warriors
142. Yeah.
Yeah, that's at Ebervale, so that's in Wales. That would be a good show.
Yeah, I saw him saying that they're going to have like 5 amateur bouts. So, and obviously it's on a televised card. So that's going to be, you know, maybe another new experience on a good, you know, a big, you know, Cage Warriors show.
Do you know what? I'm really excited for that. The fact that it's going to be televised. I don't know if it will be for the amateurs, but obviously, usually the Cage Warrior shows are on Fight Pass. So
Yeah.
hopefully, you know, like a new audience, new people will see me, try and do things that I don't usually do, test myself, get myself out there.
Yeah, and obviously, it's still early days of the process, but there hasn't been a matchup announced. That you still no opponent.
I have an opponent. I know who I'm fighting, but I'm not going to say who yet because I don't think anyone else knows yet.
Yeah,
Not that. Yeah. Not, I don't know. Like my coach hasn't shared it with everyone, so I'm just not going to say anything.
Then obviously, I don't want to release too. Obviously, I don't want you to release too much. But how would you describe his opponent in one word?
Heavy wrestling. Well, wrestling.
Okay, that's it. I don't want you to get in trouble, so we'll swiftly move on. Obviously, we talked about it earlier, and obviously, the amateur scene is fantastic. You've spent 3 years in the amateur scene, and I presume there's been at the back of your mind, you know, when is it the right time to go pro? What are them thoughts?
I'm keen to go pro like as soon as possible. Like I'm. That's all the goal is, to go pro and to push myself and to see how good I am and how far I can go. But at the same time, I respect that my coach knows what's best for me and when to go pro. So as much as I probably mention it to all the time when we're going to go pro and I'm going to go pro, at the same time I know that he'll tell me, he'll say, look, let's do this. You're ready. He's done it with my teammates. You know, they've gone to it. You know, one of my teammates right now has gone to a high level. He's showing himself, and that was all when our coach said he was ready.
Yeah, I absolutely admire that mentality. I think that, you know, the amateur scene, as we obviously said, not talked about enough, not, you know, utilized as enough. We've seen these pro fighters because, as I talked about, it's just a big learning lesson for when you know, it helps you get ready for that pro scene.
Oh, 100%. Like there's obviously, you know, you've got the few rules that you can't do certain things in amateur that you can in pro. But other than that, like the majority of it is what you're going to be pressured with, and you need to get used to that. It's not just a case of in the cage; it's outside the cage. Mm-hmm. It's your nerves. It's walking out. It's warming up. It's having that crowd around you and knowing that you can deal with that. The spotlight when it's just you two in the cage, and you've got to be able to keep yourself focused. So if you don't have those amateur fights and you just go pro, those things can get you, and then it will affect the fight.
Absolutely agree. But I probably presume you're absolutely dying to throw some elbows.
Do you know what? I'm keen to throw some elbows. And my knees. I throw my knees a lot, so I think that when I can start using knees to the head and things, that'd be good.
Yeah, obviously when you're going to, it's going to be weird, isn't it? Because obviously you had so many fights in the amateur scene. When you throw them, you're going to just probably utilize them a lot because obviously you hadn't had that feeling before.
Yeah, you know, we're not using them, so I say we're not using them. Obviously, I've got pros in the gym, so we train with elbows and knees. You don't really do flying knees in the gym, but we use them on the bags. But yeah, I think when I go pro, I think I'm going to be a bit more relaxed with it than most people. Like, I feel like that's two weapons that I have in my arsenal that I'm really missing out on. Like, I feel like I'm at the Four Nations. You know, people are shooting in on me. The heavy wrestlers in a small cage. It was a tiny cage, and I'm thinking, like, if I time my knee right, that could end it, but I can't.
Yeah, you talked about that tiny cage. Was that beneficial, or did you not play in your advantage as much?
I was kind of hoping for a bigger cage when I first got there because I got such a long reach, especially for the division. But then when I ended up fighting, I was pretty heavy on the grappling anyway. Like, I use the cage a lot, so I don't really know. Like, I'm quite comfortable in all areas. So at first I hoped for the big cage, but then once I got in there, it kind of worked in my favor for the first two fights. And then the third one, it was kind of like I want to stay on the outside, so I have to keep moving.
Yeah, obviously. So when we're going back to the Four Nations, obviously you're fighting your opponent. What was it like, for the game plan? How did you get ready for your opponent? Obviously, you had to fight in the next day. Was it a lot of trying to find tape, trying to figure out what you'd like to do, etc.?
No, you don't know anything about anyone really. You're kind of just going out there, and you're not going to learn their style overnight. You can know if someone's a heavy wrestler or if someone's a good striker, but you're not going to know what their like actual strengths are. And I don't think that really matters. I think everything works until it doesn't. You can be a good striker, but if I catch you, you're going to maybe hesitate. Like, there's just so many things and so many factors that can change the course of a fight, and I think you've just got to go in there and play to your plan, and if that isn't working, adapt. Just try to overcome the situation.
Yeah, it was absolutely. It was a fantastic event. You performed magnificently, brought home that silver medalist, and obviously, thank you so much for actually, bringing home that the silver. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure. Wish you the best luck in the future. I'm very intrigued to see where you go. Obviously, August 13th, Cage Warriors, Wales. It will be fantastic to watch you again, and hopefully, you do get on that UFC Fight Pass little showcase.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate coming on, having the chat. Maybe we can speak again sometime. So that'd be good.
Absolutely, I'd love to get you on. Obviously, I would like to have that Rage UK belt. Is that still yours, or are you gonna?
Yeah, I'm still the Rage welterweight champion. They've got a show coming up, but I'm not fighting on it as far as I'm aware. I think it's too close to Cage Warriors, so I don't want to risk it. But I'd imagine later this year I'll probably defend it again. Maybe defend it one more time this year. I've already defended it once, maybe twice if they have enough shows, but I wouldn't imagine it will be.
Yeah, absolutely. So once the next time you defend it, we'll get you back on the show. It wraps around your waist or on your shoulder, and we'll go again.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm up for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jordan. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll talk to you soon. Good luck, August 13th.